Hi everybody. Today I'm going to be talking about flexibility in life, the art of flexibility. So, basically, where I want to start is to explain to you guys how I also have my notes on my phone today again. I want to explain to you guys how flexibility and having certain habits or routines in life kind of connect with each other first, and then I'll kind of just go on to what I need to say. Essentially, our routines, our habits connect with our flexibility because it is usually what we have planned for the day. It is usually something constant, something that's that you can rely on. But there always comes a time where we need to adapt or adjust to maybe a change in our routine or, doing something new. And there are some things that are new that are good for you to be doing. But then there's also these habits that you might have that you're growing old of or are sort of becoming like this prison for you. So I don't want to sit here and make you guys think that all your habits are prisons because they're not. But things like, for me personally, sometimes I notice that when I'm journaling or just like getting out my anger in some type of way, it kind of makes me feel a little bit like shameful or, makes me have that self-judgment, makes me think, negatively of myself. And I started seeing that journaling wasn't really a positive thing for me. Excuse me. So I viewed journaling for me personally as a prison of a habit because it is so, connects me to my emotions in a negative way. Like I understand how I'm feeling and I hold space for it, I honor it, but also journaling makes me feel like I'm building more resentment. And if I'm not journaling, which I haven't been for a little while, I've been living more presently and living better. That's just what works for me. So if journaling works for you and it feels like the most amazing thing ever, please keep doing it. But I think that with flexibility, there needs to be this sort of very deep self-compassion, or at least a willingness to learn that self-compassion for yourself, because the amount of self-care we can do in a day, or being kind to ourselves, it changes in how much time we have in a day. It varies, that daily capacity. And I think that self-compassion is so much more important than self-criticism, because we can make our days more enjoyable in the first place by being kinder to ourselves and giving ourselves grace where it's needed and giving ourselves the flowers, feeling like you can celebrate yourself, support yourself, yeah, there's just so much self-compassion that's necessary to be able to be flexible, because sometimes when we're not able to do something during our day, like for example, if you miss a class. You know, you're like, oh, you could be like, oh, I really needed to be at that class, but I didn't make it today, you know? That would have been really good for myself. And you can just sit there and kind of self deprecate, or you can kind of be like, okay, I missed this class. What can I do for myself now? Because that's really the only thing that matters. You already missed the class. What are you going to do about it now? You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, why be unkind to yourself and put yourself down for something that, you know, you could see in a different light and be so much nicer to yourself and change your life. Another example is even with me on my phone, I'm always like, oh my goodness, I just scrolled on my phone for like 2 hours. Like I just kept scrolling and scrolling, and I just wasted 2 hours of my life. I'm not gonna sit there and keep complaining about it. I'm gonna put my phone down. I'm gonna silent it. I'm not gonna have it anywhere near me. And I'm gonna do something else that's, you know, better for my mind instead of self deprecating and then just ending up scrolling again, you know? So, when there's also this other thing that I found so interesting about this, where when we learn to be more flexible with ourselves, the amygdala in our brain starts viewing ourself as less of a threat, because being unkind to yourself and that constant like self-deprecating, that, you know, always, what's the word, just like thinking so negatively yourself and just not letting yourself breathe a little bit, it makes your brain view yourself as a threat. So when you talk negatively of yourself to yourself or even to others, your brain starts teaching itself that, you know, you're not someone safe to be around, or you're not safe in general. And that is definitely not a place that we want to be in. And if you are, there's always a way to unlearn that. There's always a way to rewire your brain. And being kinder to yourself makes you allowed to feel safer in your body, in your mind, in your inner world, and also makes you feel better about who you're around, how you're being treated, all of it. So I think that another thing that's really important with flexibility as well is just being able to have the skill of reframing like your hardships. And this means like exactly what I was saying before about like the classes and about your phone. That is a very important thing. And give yourself the grace that you need, because you need to find an alternative self-support. You need to find a way to appreciate your own inner world and make it a place that you want to visit. And this kind of mindset that we're walking around with constantly is more like a, what is it? Like a give my everything or I give none. And it is kind of, it's just not working out no more. Like obviously if you're here, it's just not working out anymore. So realize that the constant pattern or the constant cycle of you self-deprecating and then not really doing anything about it or making a positive change about it, you're affecting yourself personally and doing that negatively as well. So I think that asking yourself, how can I change this thought pattern when it comes up? Or how can I make time for myself to do something that'll make me feel better about missing this class or about scrolling on my phone? You know, what are the other options that support myself? And something that is very, very crucial about being able to be flexible with yourself is that self-trust as well, you know? Being able to have that knowing in yourself that you're safe regardless of what happens outside of you or what happens within you, you know? Having that trust with yourself, with the universe, with God, whatever you believe in. It is like being a leaf in a tree, right? It's blowing around, but it's rooted in a way. Or it's like, what else could I use? It's like being a flower. It's grounded, it's rooted in, but the wind, it can move it, you know? Or, look, even like a tree, this is a painting I haven't finished yet, but even like a tree, it's grounded, it's in the roots. It has the self-trust, you know? Nature has so many things to teach us. Let me find a place for this real quick. Just put it down here. Anyway. My point is that the self-trust is very, it's a non-negotiable at this point in human evolution. It is something that is very necessary for us to, excuse me, very necessary for us to survive in a way that our lives feel better, and making our lives this beautiful thing to exist, and to let ourselves wake up and feel blessed every day, because we have that trust in ourselves that I can make things better. I can not let external outcomes, you know, determine how my entire life is going. And I think that that's really important. And a lot more people need to understand that self-trust isn't really something that's talked about in the first place. And the moment that you realize that it's something very, very significant, it's almost life-changing, because you never realized like how much you need to trust yourself. You need to have your own word, you know? Like, you know how people use like handshakes to have an agreement, and it's like a solid thing. Like, people don't give up on their handshakes. Or if you give somebody your word, give yourself your word. Give it to yourself. Make your commitments. Give yourself your own word. You know? Have and build that self-trust, because there's always another way. And even if you think you have too many ways of having self-trust right now, there's always more. There's always more. And if you think you have no self-trust right now, there's always a way, there's always a place you can start. And I think that the most simple way you can start trusting yourself more, and in a faster way as well, is having those routines and being able to learn that flexibility, like that I was just talking about. And I don't mean flexibility in a adjusting to life in every way that you can kind of flexibility. I mean the flexibility of becoming kinder to ourselves instead of wishing that we woke up earlier and didn't waste so much of our day. What can we do about it now? The flexibility that is presence. It's figuring out what it's figuring out what we can do about our life currently. It's not about what we could have done, what we should have done. It was never about that. It was always about right now and what we can be doing. And I think that's a good way to end my video. So, thank you guys for being here today. And I hope to see you in my next video. Or the comments. Comment, say hi. I'll probably reply to you. But thank you for watching, and I'm so blessed to be doing this. And I love just getting my words out to everybody and having this experience every time of setting up my camera and pressing play and then pressing record, actually. But I think that is a very beautiful experience for me to be able to have, and I'm so lucky. So I'm so lucky that I have my people here that also support me. It is a very beautiful thing that I think about very often. And thank you for being here and listening to me talk a lot. I'll see you in the next video.